The email arrived at 3:47 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, the kind of message that would change everything. The subject line was simple. Urgent. Systems compromised. Check your computers. Alex Bill, the night shift IT administrator at CyberCore Systems, had seen plenty of security alerts. But this one was different. This one was from the attacker himself. The message contained detailed instructions for locating malicious code that had been seeded throughout the company's network over the past 6 months. It included file paths, timestamps, and even screenshots of the malware in action. Most disturbingly, it contained a digital signature, a unique identifier that matched code found in previous attacks on major corporations. The hacker wasn't just confessing. He was teaching. Detective Grace Parker had been investigating cybercrimes for 8 years, but she'd never encountered anything like this. The attacker wasn't demanding ransom or threatening destruction. He was providing a roadmap to his own crimes, leaving digital breadcrumbs that would lead investigators through a labyrinth of compromised systems, stolen data, and systematic infiltration that spanned continents. The investigation that followed would reveal not just a criminal, but a teacher, a hacker who believed he was educating the world about cybersecurity by demonstrating its failures. Every computer he compromised contained not just malware, but lessons. Every system he infiltrated left behind not just damage, but knowledge. The case that began with one helpful email would expose a cybercriminal unlike any other. A predator who hunted not for money or fame, but for the intellectual challenge of leaving clues that were both obvious and invisible, devastating and educational. The hacker who left clues inside every computer wasn't just breaking systems. He was building a legacy of digital chaos that would reshape how the world understood cybersecurity. Silicon Valley was the beating heart of the tech industry, where innovation met ambition and security was often an afterthought. CyberCore Systems was a mid-sized cybersecurity firm that prided itself on protecting Fortune 500 companies from digital threats. Their headquarters in San Jose featured the typical tech campus amenities, open floor plans, gourmet cafeterias, and state-of-the-art server rooms. The company had been founded by former NSA analyst David Harrison, who brought government-level security expertise to the private sector. Their client list included major financial institutions, healthcare providers, and government contractors. They were the good guys, the white hats, the defenders against digital darkness, but even the best defenders could be breached. The hacker who targeted CyberCore wasn't interested in their clients' data or financial gain. He was interested in proving a point that no system was unbreakable, no defense impenetrable, no security measure foolproof. The attacks began subtly. Minor system glitches, unexplained log entries, brief network slowdowns, the kind of issues that busy IT departments might overlook or attribute to routine maintenance. But these weren't routine problems. They were calling cards, digital fingerprints, evidence of a presence that shouldn't exist. The hacker's methodology was unique. Rather than covering his tracks, he enhanced them. Rather than deleting logs, he expanded them. Rather than hiding his presence, he highlighted it, assuming anyone knew where to look. The stage was set for a confrontation that would test the limits of digital forensics and reveal the true nature of cyber warfare in the modern age. March 15, 2023, began as a routine day at CyberCore Systems. The morning shift arrived at 7:08 a.m., checking overnight system logs and reviewing automated security alerts. Nothing appeared unusual until 8:23 a.m., when the first anomaly was detected. The network monitoring system flagged unusual traffic patterns, small packets of data being transmitted to external servers at regular intervals. The traffic was encrypted and appeared to be using legitimate network protocols, but the volume and timing suggested something more sinister than routine system communications. The initial security team dismissed the alert as a false positive. Encrypted traffic to external servers was normal for a cybersecurity firm. Their systems constantly communicated with threat intelligence databases, update servers, and client monitoring systems. The alert was logged but not escalated. At 10:47 a.m., the second anomaly appeared, Multiple systems began experiencing simultaneous but unrelated issues. Email servers slowed to a crawl. Database connections became unstable. Firewall logs showed unusual patterns of denied connections from internal IP addresses. The timing was suspicious. Too coordinated to be coincidental, David Harrison personally investigated the issues. His initial analysis revealed evidence of a sophisticated attack, modified system files, altered security configurations, and the presence of unauthorized software installations. But what made this attack unique was what the hacker had left behind. Every compromised system contained not just malware, but documentation. The attacker had embedded detailed explanations of how he'd breached each system, what security measures he'd bypassed, and what vulnerabilities he'd exploited. It was like finding a technical manual inside a burglary scene. The malicious code was elegant in its construction. It didn't just compromise systems, it educated those who found it. Code comments explained the attack methodology. File names reference specific cybersecurity textbooks. Even the malware's payload contained lectures about proper security practices. By noon, the scope of the breach became clear. Over 200 systems had been compromised, including those containing client data, proprietary security software, and employee personal information. But nothing had been destroyed, stolen, or encrypted. No ransom demands appeared. No threats were issued. Instead, the attacker had installed educational software, programs that demonstrated security vulnerabilities, applications that taught defensive programming techniques, scripts that automatically patched the very holes they'd exploited. The hacker was fixing systems even as he compromised them. At 2:15 p.m., the first helpful email arrived. Addressed to the entire IT security team, it contained step-by-step instructions for locating and removing the unauthorized software. It included file paths, registry entries, and network connections associated with the attack. It was signed with a digital signature that would later be traced to previous cyber attacks on major corporations. The email also contained a confession. "I have been inside your systems for 6 months. I could have destroyed everything. Instead, I chose to teach. You will find evidence of my presence throughout your network. Each clue explains how I got in, what I found, and how you can keep others like me out." David Harrison faced an unprecedented situation. The attacker wasn't just confessing. He was providing evidence of his crimes in real time. Every system contained digital breadcrumbs leading back to the source. Every log file contained entries that shouldn't exist. Every security mechanism had been bypassed and then documented for educational purposes. The cyber attack had become a masterclass in digital forensics, with the criminal serving as both perpetrator and professor. The investigation that followed would reveal not just who had breached CyberCore's defenses, but why he'd chosen to educate rather than destroy. The hacker who left clues inside every computer was teaching a lesson that would reshape how the cybersecurity industry approached defense, detection, and response to digital threats. Lead investigator Parker approached the case with caution. Cybercrime investigations were complex enough without perpetrators providing their own evidence. The digital trail left by the hacker was comprehensive, but potentially misleading. A maze of legitimate software mixed with malicious code, educational content combined with criminal activity. The forensic analysis began with the helpful email itself. Headers revealed it had been sent through a complex network of proxy servers, but the digital signature provided a unique identifier. Cross-referencing this signature against international cybercrime, databases revealed connections to similar attacks on major corporations over the past 2 years. Each affected company had received similar documentation. The hacker had breached their systems, left educational materials, and provided removal instructions. No data had been stolen, no ransom demanded, no damage done. The pattern suggested an unusual motive: education rather than exploitation. The malware analysis revealed sophisticated programming techniques. The code was professionally written, well documented, and included extensive comments explaining functionality. Digital forensics experts compared it to academic textbooks on cybersecurity, finding matching explanations and educational methodologies. But the programming style also revealed characteristics of the author: the use of specific functions, variable naming conventions, and code structure patterns matched. Previous attacks attributed to a hacker known only by the alias Professor X, a moniker that had appeared in cybersecurity forums discussing advanced persistent threats. The investigation expanded as evidence accumulated. The hacker had been inside CyberCore's systems for 6 months, but his presence extended far beyond a single company. Similar attack patterns had been identified at Fortune 500 companies, government agencies, and international organizations. The scope suggested a global operation with unprecedented reach. Network traffic analysis revealed the method of infiltration. The attacker had exploited a zero-day vulnerability, a previously unknown software flaw in CyberCore's proprietary security software. The vulnerability allowed remote code execution with system-level privileges, essentially providing the keys to the digital kingdom. But rather than exploiting this access for maximum damage, the hacker had used it sparingly. He'd installed monitoring software, studied system behavior, and mapped the entire network infrastructure. The reconnaissance was thorough enough to facilitate complete system compromise, yet he'd chosen restraint over destruction. The most disturbing evidence came from analyzing the educational software he'd installed. Each program contained specific lessons about cybersecurity vulnerabilities, complete with practical demonstrations and suggested remediation strategies. The curriculum was comprehensive, covering everything from basic password security to advanced persistent threat detection. The sophistication suggested the work of multiple individuals, a team or organization rather than a lone hacker. The educational content alone represented hundreds of hours of development time. The coordination required to attack multiple systems simultaneously while maintaining stealth indicated substantial resources and expertise. However, digital forensics revealed something unexpected: the same code patterns. Programming styles and educational approaches appeared consistently across all attacks. The work had been done by a single individual or a tightly coordinated group working toward a unified goal. The breakthrough came from analyzing network logs that predated the initial breach. The attacker had been probing CyberCore's defenses for months, testing vulnerabilities, mapping network topology, and studying defensive measures. The reconnaissance phase had been methodical and patient, suggesting a long-term strategy rather than opportunistic. Exploitation. The investigation revealed that Professor X wasn't just a hacker, he was a cybersecurity researcher who'd turned his expertise toward criminal education. His motives remained unclear, but his methods suggested a belief that the only way to improve cybersecurity was to demonstrate its failures. Spectacularly, the case was evolving, from a simple cyber attack investigation into a complex examination of digital warfare, criminal education, and the ethics of using crime to prevent crime. The hacker who left clues inside every computer was teaching lessons that would reshape how the world understood cybersecurity defense. The investigation took a dramatic turn when forensic analysis of the educational software revealed its true purpose. Hidden within layers of code, disguised as legitimate security training materials, were sophisticated backdoors that provided persistent access to compromised systems. The educational content was genuine. The lessons were accurate, the demonstrations effective, the remediation strategies legitimate. But embedded throughout were subtle modifications that maintained the attacker's access even after his primary malware was removed. The hacker wasn't just teaching cybersecurity, he was installing permanent surveillance capabilities. The revelation was staggering. Every company that had been helped by the educational materials had also been permanently compromised. The lessons about security vulnerabilities contained hidden code that created new vulnerabilities. The demonstrations of proper security practices included subtle modifications that bypassed security controls. But the most shocking discovery came from analyzing the backdoor code itself. It wasn't designed for data theft or system destruction. It was designed for continuous monitoring and intelligence gathering. The hacker had created a network of compromised systems that served as a real-time intelligence platform, providing insight into the cybersecurity practices of major corporations worldwide. The sophistication was unprecedented. The backdoors were designed to activate only under specific conditions, making them virtually undetectable during normal system operation. They collected metadata about network traffic, security configurations, and defensive measures, then transmitted this information through encrypted channels to command and control servers. The scope of the operation became clear as more companies were identified as victims. Major financial institutions, healthcare systems, government agencies, and technology companies had all been compromised by the same attack methodology. The hacker had created a massive intelligence-gathering operation disguised as cybersecurity education. However, the motive remained unclear. The intelligence being gathered wasn't being used for immediate advantage. No data was being stolen, no systems destroyed, no ransom demanded. The information was simply being collected, stored, and analyzed. The breakthrough came from analyzing the command and control infrastructure. The servers weren't located in traditional cybercrime havens. They were distributed across legitimate cloud services in multiple countries, making them virtually impossible to shut down through conventional law enforcement channels. Technical analysis revealed that the communication protocols weren't designed for data exfiltration. They were designed for long-term intelligence gathering. The hacker was building a comprehensive database of cybersecurity practices, defensive measures, and system vulnerabilities across major corporations. But the most disturbing revelation was still to come. The educational software contained predictive algorithms that analyzed corporate security practices and identified future vulnerabilities. The hacker wasn't just monitoring current security, he was predicting future weaknesses. The investigation revealed that Professor X wasn't just a cybercriminal, he was conducting systematic intelligence gathering on global cybersecurity practices. Every compromised system provided insight into how major organizations defended against digital threats. Every vulnerability demonstrated became data for analyzing security trends. The case had evolved from a criminal investigation into an intelligence operation of unprecedented scope and sophistication. The hacker who left clues inside every computer was building a comprehensive understanding of global cybersecurity that could be weaponized at any time. The final revelation was the most troubling. The intelligence gathering had been active for 3 years, compromising over 500 major organizations worldwide. The scale of the operation suggested state sponsorship or corporate espionage, but no evidence linked it to any known nation-state or criminal organization. The investigation had uncovered not just a cyber criminal, but a systematic assault on global cybersecurity infrastructure that was both educational and exploitative. The hacker who left clues inside every computer was conducting the most comprehensive intelligence gathering operation in the history of cyber warfare. The investigation culminated in the arrest of Dr. Jonathan Mitchell, a 38-year-old cybersecurity researcher and former NSA contractor, on December 15, 2023. The arrest took place at his home in Reston, Virginia, following a 6-month surveillance operation that tracked his movements, communications, and financial transactions. The indictment was comprehensive: conspiracy to commit computer fraud, unauthorized access to protected computers, wire fraud, and economic espionage. The charges carried potential sentences totaling 45 years in federal prison and fines exceeding $2 million. The prosecution, led by Assistant U.S. Attorney Daniel Kim, presented a case built on digital forensics, network analysis, and behavioral profiling. The evidence was overwhelming: source code analysis showing Mitchell's programming techniques, network logs documenting his access to command and control servers, financial records showing payments to cloud hosting services used in the attacks. But the case was complicated by Mitchell's unusual motives. The defense, led by prominent attorney Patricia Wong, didn't deny the technical evidence but argued that Mitchell had been conducting legitimate cybersecurity research. They claimed his actions were designed to expose vulnerabilities and improve security practices, not steal data or cause damage. The defense strategy was unconventional. They embraced the evidence while reframing the intent. Mitchell had left clues, they argued, because he wanted to be caught. He had educated companies because he believed in improving cybersecurity. He had gathered intelligence because he was documenting systemic vulnerabilities. The prosecution countered with evidence of Mitchell's systematic methodology. He had operated in secrecy for 3 years, maintained multiple false identities, and created sophisticated backdoors that provided persistent access to victim systems. His actions went far beyond legitimate security research. The trial featured testimony from cybersecurity experts who analyzed Mitchell's code and methodology. The consensus was clear. The sophistication of the attacks exceeded what would be expected from independent research. The intelligence-gathering operation was too comprehensive, too systematic, and too covert to be considered academic. Victim impact statements painted a different picture. Representatives from major corporations described the trauma of discovering their systems had been compromised, even if no data had been stolen. They spoke of the resources required for remediation, the loss of business during investigations, and the ongoing security concerns created by the sophisticated backdoors Mitchell had installed. The most compelling testimony came from corporate cybersecurity officers who described how Mitchell's educational materials had actually improved their defensive capabilities. His lessons about vulnerability identification, threat detection, and incident response had strengthened their security posture and prevented potentially devastating attacks. The legal proceedings became a debate about the ethics of cyber warfare. Mitchell had committed crimes, but his victims had benefited from his actions. He had violated laws, but he had also advanced the state of cybersecurity knowledge. He had created fear, but he had also inspired improvements in defensive capabilities. The jury deliberated for 6 hours, indicating the complexity of the case and the difficulty of determining intent in sophisticated cyber operations. Their questions focused on the distinction between legitimate security research and criminal activity, particularly when the perpetrator provided educational value to victims. The verdict was mixed. Guilty on charges of unauthorized access and wire fraud, but not guilty on economic espionage charges. The jury appeared to accept the defense's argument that Mitchell wasn't conducting espionage, but they couldn't ignore the systematic criminal activity involved in compromising hundreds of computer systems. The sentencing phase revealed more complexity. Mitchell's work had contributed significantly to cybersecurity improvements across multiple industries. His educational materials had become standard training resources. His vulnerability research had prevented numerous potential attacks. The judge's sentence reflected the unusual nature of the case: 10 years in federal prison, but with credit for time served during pretrial detention and a recommendation for incarceration at a facility with computer access for continued research. The sentence also included 5 years of supervised release, during which Mitchell would be required to consult with government agencies on cybersecurity matters. The prosecution described the sentence as appropriate, given both the criminal conduct and the educational value of Mitchell's actions. The case had established important precedents for prosecuting cybercrimes where perpetrators claimed educational or research motivations. The Mitchell case concluded in March 2024, but its implications continue shaping cybersecurity law and practice. The conviction established precedents for prosecuting cybercriminals who claim educational motives while engaging in systematic criminal activity. The case also highlighted the ethical complexities of cybersecurity research. Mitchell's actions were criminal, but his educational contributions were genuine. His intelligence gathering was systematic, but the knowledge he provided advanced defensive capabilities across multiple industries. But beyond legal precedents, the Mitchell case reveals fundamental questions about cybersecurity in the digital age. Can criminal activity be justified if it advances public knowledge? Should hackers who educate their victims receive different treatment than those who exploit them for profit? How can cybersecurity be improved without violating the systems it's designed to protect? The documentary closes with Detective Parker's final reflection. Technology enables both crime and education. The same skills that compromise systems can also protect them. The challenge is distinguishing between those who teach and those who exploit. Mitchell was both, a criminal who educated and an educator who committed crimes. His legacy isn't just the systems he compromised, it's the knowledge he left behind. The case serves as a reminder that cybersecurity isn't just about preventing attacks. It's about understanding the motivations, methodologies, and capabilities of those who test digital defenses. The hacker who left clues inside every computer taught lessons that continue reshaping how the world approaches cybersecurity defense.